Now, before I start this video, I'm just going to quickly say this. This is strictly my opinion, and I just need to say this before all the Metal Fight fans just straight up flame me in the comment sections. In the comment section, actually. So, without the way, let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a bit of a controversial topic, which I totally understand if it's a controversial topic since it's tackling one of the most glazed anime generations, or the most glazed Beyblade generations of all time. And yes, I did say glazed generations. Metal Fight is the most glazed generation. You cannot tell me otherwise. Yeah, basically the topic is why I think the X generation is better than the Metal Fight generation in terms of the anime. The toys, absolutely clear, but I'm just gonna say why the anime is my personal favorite and why I think it's better than the Metal Fight anime. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Before we get started, hey you, do you want BX base? Or even UX base? Or even CX base? Well then go check out sponsor of the channel, Mall of Toys. They're a big help to the channel, and if you guys use code GabrielsBase at checkout, you'll save 5% off! Now let's get back to the video! There are three main parts I want to go over for this video, and those parts being the animation, the story, and the filler itself. And trust me, I'll have a lot to say on the filler part. So let's start with the animation. Now this should go without saying, but the X generation's animation is much better than the past generations. But yeah, then again, as I said, it should be a given because one was made in 2023 to 2025, and one was made back in 2009. So obviously the animation is going to be better, but I'm just going to say real quick on the Metal Fight people saying how they have like the better animation. I'm just saying, y'all just kind of look choppy. Like, the Metal Fight animation is not bad by any means, it's just slightly choppy. I don't like how it looks. And nostalgia purposes, I do kind of like the designs of the characters, sure. And the designs are totally what caught my eye. But, yeah, let's just say, the animation really doesn't, look that good nowadays. And before I move on, I want to talk about the Beyblade's animation themselves, because while yes, in the Metal Fight anime, they do look exactly how they do in real life, I feel like that the X generation and the way they do the Beyblade animation in their anime is a lot better and shows a lot more of the detail and is a lot more faithful to how the Beyblades look in real life. While the slow motion scenes look a lot better in X than they do in the Metal Fight generation. Now, that's gonna be an unpopular opinion, but I'm just gonna say that real quick because the Metal Fight slow motion scenes when a Bey's like changing modes or something, or when we have like a evasion gimmick or something like that, when a Beyblade evades another Beyblade's attack, it looks so choppy. Like, I know it's 2009 standards, but they're just gonna, Metal Fight glazes are just gonna say, oh, this is peak animation. Like, yo, that's not peak animation, that's just very, very choppy. But for X, they look really, it looks real nice. It looks clean. It just looks clean. And I like watching clean animation rather than choppy animation. So, yeah, that's what I just wanted to add on that. Now, one thing I gotta say before we move on to the next section, which is the story portion, why do they have all the Beyblades spin on different surfaces other than the Beyblade Stadium? Like, I get it, you want to have some, like, action sequences with the Beyblades. The thing is, if you try that in real life, which I'm pretty sure many kids did, you're just gonna be harming your own Beyblades. You're gonna be actually shaving off the drivers, you're gonna be harming the performance tips, breaking them off. I just don't like that. I personally like the fact that X is just keeping the Beyblades strictly in the stadium so that they're not going to be damaged whatsoever. So no kid has to or wants to mimic what they do in the anime, or in the Metal Fight anime at least. kids are not going to actively launch Beyblades onto the floor, but only in the stadium. So that's all I gotta say on the animation section. Now let's move on to the story section. Now this is gonna be, again, a very unpopular opinion, which I'm gonna say along this video, but I'm just gonna say that I personally like Beyblade X's story more than Beyblade Metal Fight's story, and I'll get into that right now. The main thing I like about Beyblade X that I think I personally don't like about Metal Fight is the more realistic style it takes, and the fact that we have a more grounded approach to Beyblade X more than the more fantastical approach with Metal Fight. Don't get me wrong, I like fantastical anime. I like it as much as the next person, but I don't want things to happen that make no sense in real life for Beyblade nowadays. I just want like more grounded stuff that with a little bit of fantastic elements sprinkled in, and that could just be me, but that's why I like Beyblade X more than Beyblade Metal Fight. And this is coming from someone who actually watched Beyblade Metal Fight a lot for the story. I've watched it a couple times. I've watched like pretty much most of Metal Masters, most of Metal Fusion, and a little bit of Metal Fury. So you can't say that I haven't watched my fair share of Metal Fight. But I personally just couldn't grasp on a Metal Fight as much as everyone else did because of the more over-the-top fantastical elements. In fact, dare I say it, the fantastical elements are what pushed me away from Beyblade Metal Fight. I know, it's kind of weird to say that, but honestly, it is kind of what pushed me away. But with the futuristic look of Beyblade X and the futuristic feel, with the holograms of the 4X system, it's sort of more, connected to me more than the more fantastical feeling of Metal Fight. Which is why again I grasp onto Beyblade X more than I do with Metal Fight. Now that's not to say that Metal Fight's story is bad. In fact, Metal Fight's story is one that rivals Pokemon. But the main reason I think Beyblade X is better than Metal Fight is the way it deals with Dark Power. You see, in Beyblade X Season 2, since it's based on Metal Fight, it's taking some of the Metal Fight elements. So it kind of involved the Dark Power with Chrome Ryugu. But I feel like Chrome Ryugu's Dark Power and Ryuga's Dark Power kind of go hand in hand, but Chrome Ryugu's is dealt with a lot better than it is with Ryuga's Dark Power. Now, that's gonna get a lot of people flaming me in the comment section, but I'm just gonna say this real quick. I'm going to give my full reasoning right now. With Ryuga's Dark Power and Metal Fight, I feel like it's a tad over the top, considering the fact that it came from the Dark Power came from the top El Drago, the little Beyblade El Drago, and how it contained the Dark Power from centuries ago, and how Beyblade ruled everything before, which I just think is way too over the top, but makes sense in the line with their story. But I just don't really see it making that much sense. However, with Chrome Ryugu, it's more believable, and I kind of like it more since it's talking more about Chrome Ryugu's hatred for Team Persona rather than the Beyblade itself having some dark energy to it, and that being what's driving Chrome Ryugu to go all hatred over Team Persona or whatever. That's yet another reason why I like Beyblade X more than Metal Fight, but we're getting on to the last section, and I have a lot to say on this last section that is probably going to take up more than a third of the video. So I don't know, but let's get into the filler section of this video. Now, filler isn't new for an anime. Filler is practically what kind of builds up the episode, episode number count, and what helps an anime, grow its number. But filler could also be detrimental to an anime. And in the terms of Beyblade X, I feel like the filler actually does work in this case, since it just builds on the characters' personalities and it builds on the character's strengths. Metal Fight's pretty much an outlier in this one, in the fact that none of the seasons of Metal Fight actually have filler episodes, and that every episode contributes to the plot. I think that's why people mostly like Metal Fight, is because every episode remains consistent, and every episode has some kind of plot relevance, and doesn't stray away from the original plot. And that's why I think people don't really like X that much, because X does have a lot of filler episodes that don't really follow along with the manga. But personally, I like these filler episodes for the reasons that I previously mentioned, and I'm going to list off a couple reasons why I like the filler episodes. A couple reasons I like the filler episodes is because, one, it expands on characters that we would never usually expect to see again, like, say, Uni, Zonamos, Toguro, Chopin, Burn, King. Characters like those, with their filler episodes, we get more of their personality and more of their character, so we can know more about them and connect with them more. So that's just kind of one of the reasons why I like the filler episodes, but I also like them because, you know, they expand on the universe itself and expand on how everything works. Like the Shuffle Battle Fest, I think, is like a good set of episodes that they have, even though they could be considered filler because they don't really follow the manga, since the manga didn't really have the Shuffle Battle Fest. But the Shuffle Battle Fest had some really good battles, and had some really good character development for Mako Maiden, which is why I also like that, you know, those set of episodes. So my bottom line for the reason why I like the filler episodes is because they help build the characters more, and they help make them more likable, and it just helps the story overall, and pretty much that's just why I like the filler episode of Beyblade X, since, yeah, because of the previous reasons mentioned. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys want to have anything constructive to say to me in the comment section about my opinions on the Metal Fight generation, please do be constructive in the comment section below. Anyway guys, that's it. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tune in next time. Goodbye, folks.